On today's special episode of Homeworthy, we're stepping inside 4 homes that prove you don't need a lot of space to make a big design statement. First, we're heading to Los Angeles to visit a 700 square foot loft apartment that expertly blends function and style with a cozy work area, bright windows, exposed brick, and thrifted finds. Next, we travel to a vibrant New York City studio where bold color, collected pieces, and personal touches create a space full of warmth and personality. Then we'll visit Nashville to tour a beautifully renovated 900 square foot home filled with vintage charm, one-of-a-kind artwork, and timeless character. Finally, we visit a Washington, D.C. apartment where a sleek industrial high-rise has been transformed into a cozy 700 square foot retreat, featuring Williamsburg-inspired antiques, reimagined furniture, and curated vintage accents. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
If you're looking to make your own space more homeworthy, we've teamed up with Cherish, our go-to online destination for chic, one-of-a-kind finds, sourced from the world's most wonderful vendors.
Mercury drops are from an artist I found on Cherish.
Whether we're after a bold statement piece or the perfect finishing touch, Cherish has extraordinary items that leave a lasting impression.
This table I bought on Cherish from Berlin, and it has a little bit of it's a tray, and it is mid-century, and it's one of my favorite pieces.
It's where we find iconic looks to set homes apart.
I think many dealers would agree that Cherish is the absolute best.
So to support Homeworthy and discover amazing items from Cherish, scan the QR code or click on the link below to start shopping.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Ola. Welcome to my 700 square foot apartment in Los Angeles. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Olamide, but I go by Ola on the internet. I'm a product designer and I also make YouTube videos, and welcome to my 700 square foot apartment in Los Angeles. Long story short is I found my place online. I've been here under a year, and I guess what attracted me to this place is the windows, like the mahogany wood frame, just the bright light in here, the wood floors, the blue kitchen cabinets, the brick wall. There's just like so many interesting, charming pieces about this loft that really attracted me to this space. And the moment that I walked in, I knew that like she was the one. I don't know how to explain it. It's just the energy in here just felt right. It just felt like this was waiting for me. And it just, I don't know how to, I think serendipitous is the right word to say. My design style, I would describe it as eclectic. I like fun, I like bold colors, I like vintage pieces, I like things that tell a story. I like to do secondhand shopping a lot, so most of my pieces are secondhand. And I just like things that just look interesting, that tell a conversation. So when I'm looking at things or picking things, I just want to make sure that like the energy feels right. I hope that doesn't sound woo-woo, but a lot of the things that I pick, it just speaks to me. It feels like we belong to each other. Now we're in the living room area, probably one of my favorite rooms. I'm probably gonna say that for each room, but this is my favorite room, mainly because it's really colorful, it's punchy, it's bold. My favorite piece in here is this couch that I bought off of Facebook Marketplace last year. Immediately when I saw it, I knew that I had to have it. And I just added these throw pillows. Because the color of the couch is this mustard orange stripe, it's vintage. I think it's mid-century from the 60s or the 70s. I can't really place it. Because it's orange, I wanted it to have a complementary color, so that I brought in this blue rug that I bought off of Etsy. And it's a Moroccan rug. It's also another bold piece in my living room, and I just love how they pair off of each other. And then I have these really cute stools that I got from a secondhand store in Silver Lake called Candid Home. Immediately when I first saw these, I was like, I don't want to buy them, but I kept thinking about it for 2 weeks and I was like, I have to go back and get it. And they're this ostrich green leather, and the owner of Candid Home, she actually reupholstered these. So they're just a fun piece in my space. Some other things that I added are artwork. I have my record player, and then this coffee table. It's actually a clear acrylic, but I added contact paper to it, so that way it doesn't feel so lost in the space. This is probably one of my first upcycle projects. About 4 years ago, I bought the frame of this chair off of OfferUp. It's a Wasili chair. I got it for 30 bucks, and I just knew that I wanted to have like this cow print, something that I saw online. And I took it to an automotive shop and I gave them the cowhide and they reupholstered it for me. I have like these really cool art pieces. I got this off of Facebook Marketplace. It's a barbershop art. It's African barbershop art. I just love the colors in this. And what's so interesting about this is that I don't know if they do this now, but back in the day, they didn't have pictures of photography to show the styles of the hairstyles, so they would commission artists to paint these portraits of what the stylist could do in the shop. And then I also have this. This is one of my favorite Kanye West albums, is My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. It's the album cover art, so I just framed it. So a part of my living room is my office desk, and this is where I make my YouTube videos. It's also where I work from home. And one of my favorite reupholstered projects is this Pollock chair. I bought it off of Facebook Marketplace. The leather originally was so tattered, like you couldn't even sit on it. So I had fabric that I bought from downtown LA at the fabric shop, and I took it to a place off of Washington Boulevard and they reupholstered it for me. This is probably one of my favorite projects. I didn't personally do it, but I did commission someone else to do it because it took forever to find someone that could do this chair. And it was just nice. This chair retails for a lot of money and I was able to get a pretty good deal on it. Another thing about my office space here too is some of my favorite plants. I probably will also call all of my plants my favorite plants. But these are my 2 rubber trees. I've had this tree for over 4 years. I've had it and it was like this tall when I first got it. And then this one as well. So I put them together and it just helps create a separation from my office to my dining area. So now we're in the entryway area and I have a really cute lipstick mirror that I spray painted this burgundy red. I also got this console table from OfferUp. I drove out to like Rosemead to go get it. And then I also added this art print that I bought off of Etsy, and I love this mask. I got this at the Melrose Flea Market. But I just added these things to make this place feel eclectic, modern. I don't really know the particular style, but the elements just felt like they were not like each other, but they also feel like they belonged to each other, if that makes sense. And of course I have this beautiful Tenathi plants. My place is full of plants. I'm a plant mom and they just bring me a lot of light. I think what I enjoy about living in this space is that it forces me to be creative, especially because I live in technically it is a studio because there are no walls. However, the floor plan is designed in a way that it makes obvious sense where things should be laid out. I like the fact that because there's no walls, it makes me become more creative with using plants as separators for the rooms or using rugs to create division between the rooms and making sure that I'm putting things in my place that I feel are really necessary to this space. Like, of course I love to add little small things here and there, but it's just nice to think about like if something really serves a functional purpose in this space. And if it also looks great, that's an added bonus. Some tips I have for living in a small space include making sure that you are putting things in your space that you really love. I love function, but I also like for things to be functional and cute or show a side of my personality. So if I see something that I really like a coffee table, and it's not quite there yet, I will upcycle it in some unique way. But yeah, just be intentional about the things that you like and make sure that it serves a purpose in your space. But then also, if you like something and you don't know where to put it, just buy it because you will find space for it. Some challenges that I've faced living in a small space is having a designated office area because I do work from home. My last place, I did have a separate room specifically for an office, but here I had to just like tuck my desk in a corner, and I don't like the idea of putting my desk in my bedroom, so I knew I had to have it in the living room space area. So that was a challenge. Another challenge of living in a small space is just trying to figure out where to put stuff, because I love to go secondhand shopping, and then sometimes I'm just like, I don't know if I really need this because I already have 3 vases. Do I really need another one? But I will get it and I will like put it on my dining room table or put it on my console table, and I like to move things around so the place always feels fresh to me. All right, so coming from my living room / office area, we're now in my kitchen. So one thing that really attracted me to this loft apartment was the cabinets, like the warm wood floors, the mahogany wood frame, the brick walls. They add a warmness, but the blue cabinets just add like this cool contrast. And I'm not really into contemporary design, but this was it. Also, this area was bare, so then I added these shelves because I wanted places to put my plants and my art and little decor pieces that I have. So these are IKEA shelves, and they are like a MDF board or something, and I just added burl wood contact paper that I got off online. So this art piece, there's a website called A Home Is Announced, and it's a public domain website where you can get free art, and they curated a list for Black art. So I actually printed this at my local library, and I added a frame that I got from the thrift store. That's another thing I love to do, is get frames from thrift stores because you find like really unique ones and it's a really good price. I got this fabric from the Santa Monica flea market, and I just added it to the back just to create like this texture. The white wall was fine, but I didn't know what to do with this. So I was like, why don't I just put it behind a picture? And I just ended up putting it here. Now we are in my dining area. One of my favorite, I guess, secondhand finds are these Marcella Breuer chairs. They're not original. However, the craftsmanship on it, I don't think I can get rid of them. Like the dovetailing on the chairs are just phenomenal. And I guess these are the leather seats, so that way they feel more sturdy. And I got these off of Facebook Marketplace. Literally, the lady posted it and I messaged her. She was like, you're the first person to message me. And she was like, if you get it today, if you get these chairs today, they're yours. So I drove out. This is when I lived in Oakland. I drove out, I want to say like an hour and a half to get these chairs. And immediately when she gave them to me, she deleted the listing because everyone was messaging her about the chairs. Oh, and I love this too. This is another piece that I love. I got this from a brocante or a flea market in Paris last April. This was the vase that I was talking about how I don't need any more vases, but I saw this vase and initially I wasn't gonna buy it, but I ended up walking the entire flea market. I came back and I was like, I have to have it. This light, I bought this I feel like a lot of my thrift finds I bought in San Francisco, San Francisco area, because I used to live there. I bought this Nielsen lamp off of Facebook Marketplace. The original lamp that was here was just like, I don't want to call it a boob light, but it's, I guess that's the, I don't know the correct term for the original light that was here, but it was a more contemporary light. And I had this lamp and I just knew that it fit in the space. It just added a charm to the space. So I would highly suggest that if you see a lamp that you like and you're scared of changing the fixture or something like that, definitely turn off the breaker. But there's so many YouTube tutorials to let you know how to change the lights. So if you see something that you really like, just get it because it will definitely fit your space. Be patient with yourself when installing it. So one last piece of the dining room is this cool piece. It's a cabinet that I've used as a bar cart. I got this again off of Facebook Marketplace. I remember when I was living in the Bay Area, this was in Sacramento, so it was definitely a drive. But then I ended up going to some cool thrift stores after it. So this is probably one of my favorite pieces. I just love the ornate details on it. I've always wanted to make YouTube videos. I make YouTube videos here. Initially I didn't. I knew I wanted to do something around home, fashion, beauty, those things because those are my interest. I guess what inspires me to create content like that is, for me, home is like it's such an important place for me. And I know it's an important place for a lot of people too. But I want such a beautiful space, and I also want other people to feel like they should also have a beautiful space too. I think a big part of why I create content too is because I have so many different ideas that I just want to share with other people who would listen. And I also like the conversation of sharing my ideas, but then also people telling me about their ideas. It just feels like a community online. Through my content creation, my goal is to inspire people to be intentional and to really how to show their best self in their home. Because sometimes we go outside and we want to show our best selves, but sometimes we should also show our best self at home as well. All right, so in my bedroom, my solace, my safe space, I kept it kind of minimal in a sense. So here is this nightstand that I bought from Facebook Marketplace. This is one of my DIYs that I added contact paper. I've had it for a really long time, so now the sun has bleached some parts of it, so it looks kind of muted, but still love this thing. I have this Noguchi-inspired lamp here. One thing that I really love to do is when I have coffee table books, as a way to add more art into my space, I like to keep them open. So I will flip to a different page in a book and I'll just open it and have it lay out, just so that way it adds more texture and more interest into my space. And I'm not always having to feel like I need to put things on the wall. All right, so here is a dresser that I bought about 4 years ago at a Habitat for Humanity in Oakland. And this is probably one of my favorite stories to tell because when I bought this, I did not know how I was gonna get it home. It didn't fit into my car, so I just left it there. Luckily, my friend's father was visiting from out of town and he had an SUV. So I literally asked her, I was like, hey, could you please ask your dad if he can help me bring this? And he made it work. And I will never not buy a piece just because I can't bring it home because of that. Here is my lacquer room divider. Probably like a top-notch secondhand find that I got last year. I bought it on my birthday last year at a secondhand thrift store in Pasadena. Originally it was $125, but he sold it to me for $100. It is 2 pieces. It's supposed to be one big piece, but it's 2 pieces and I just never got around to fixing it. But maybe I will fix it, maybe I won't, but right now I just love how it looks in my space. And I have a lot of disco balls in my apartment mainly because I love the way light refracts on these balls, especially when the sun comes in. You just start seeing like light speckles all around the space, and it just feels like I'm like having a party at home. And I just love how it looks. So I have this huge one, and I also have mini ones around my space. I think what I love about my home is that I feel safe here. I feel like every time I look at something, I'm feeling like I'm looking at something beautiful. Like, I put pictures of my family around. I put beautiful artwork of Black people around, so I feel like I can see a representation of me in my own home. And it just makes me feel so equipped to go outside, to be out in the world, because my home just feels so safe to me, and I feel so nurtured here. And I guess my favorite room in my apartment probably is my living room, just because it's so colorful and bold. And I love this couch that I'm sitting on. It's probably my favorite piece that I've ever gotten. I secondhand it on Facebook Marketplace, and people ask me about it all the time. And I remember asking so many friends, like, hey, should I get this couch? And they're like, no, you shouldn't get it. But I just followed my gut and got it anyways. But yeah, it's one of my favorite things to look at too. And I love the color of it as well. The best compliment is that this place feels like you, or this place looks like you. Home means to me a place of rest, but also a place to truly be authentic, to be my best self, my worst self, my beautiful self, my ugly self, like all versions of me. And feeling like that makes me feel like I'm safe because of that. Like, I can show up at home in any way as possible, and I still feel accepted in my space. Home feels like something that I feel like I was always yearning for, what that meant or what that meant to me. But I realize home is what I can create. I can create a beautiful space. I can create magical moments in my home, whether I'm by myself or inviting people over. And home just feels like something that I love. And when people come over, I also want them to feel loved and appreciated as well. Thank you, Homeworthy, for stopping by. Well, I got stuff to do, so I'll see you later. Bye.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Emma. Welcome to my home in Washington Heights. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Emma Poole. I am a yoga teacher here in New York, and we are in Washington Heights. So I have lived in New York for 13 years next month. I came here in October of 2011 when I was 22. I moved into this apartment in July of 2020, so I've been here a little over 4 years. And prior to living here, I had always lived with roommates. I loved my old apartment, but there were 3 of us, and I just never thought living alone was something that I could make happen. And during the pandemic, I started teaching from home a lot. I created an online business, and I began making honestly more money than I had ever made. And it was always a dream of mine to live by myself. So when that started happening, I just began saving a ton of money. A friend of mine who lived in the building next door to this at the time texted me one day, and she said, hey, my super just let me know there's one apartment that opened if you want to take a peek at it before it goes on the market. And I said, no, I'm not ready. Like, I don't know if I can do this. And she said, just see it. I said, okay. So she took me to see it, and we opened the door, and I was like, I love it. So I remember it was just this very visceral feeling of, oh my gosh, this could be mine. Like, I remember standing in this room, actually, it was empty, no furniture, and I was visualizing how I would decorate it and what I would do with it. And so about a week later, I signed a lease and I moved in, and now it's been for a little over 4 years here, and I love it. So obviously I adore my apartment. the structure of it, the look of it, but the neighborhood that I live in is really amazing. I know all of my neighbors. They're the type of people who will give you some butter if you're out of butter, or bring over a can of pasta if you need it. It feels like a place that is a community, and like you say hi to everybody on the street. And then just the apartment in itself, I think so much of why I love it is the story of how I got it at that time in my life. I was in a big time of transition. I had just turned 31, was sort of unsure about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. And being in this space really allowed me time to sit and get quiet and visualize the life that I wanted to create. And a lot of how my work has changed in the last few years was born here. And it was where my dog spent the last 4 years of her life, and that's really sacred to me. So there's just so much memory and love in here. I've had, friends over and gatherings and parties, and it just feels very much an extension of who I am. So this is my entryway, or foyer, as we call it. There's some art here. As you can see, it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's sort of a running joke that my apartment has a lot of female accents in it. So one of my friends actually made this for me. So I was like, why not put it right when you walk in? And yeah, this area has changed a little bit recently. The bench that's in the living room used to be here, and this bench used to be in my hallway. I bought this many years ago, and for a while I was never really using it. Let's go in. Okay, so this is my living area. I have my little bedroom here, my living room. When I first moved in, I just wanted to figure out how to separate the spaces. So that's where this shelf comes in. That was one of my first purchases ever, and that's changed a lot, especially for today. I dusted it. Anyway, okay, so this area under the TV, which, by the way, I once had somebody over and he was like, oh, so you watch TV on your laptop. He was making fun of my small TV, but I kind of like it. This is where my dog's bed used to be, right under the television, and she's right here. This is her box of ashes, so that's really sacred to me, Robin Poole, and that's her, my little piglet. So after she died, I didn't change it for a while. I just was not ready, but I was feeling up to it one day, and I took the bench that was in my foyer and I made it into a shelf, and I just put things that I loved on it. As you can see, there's a lot of women. There's some rocks from when I was hiking in the Red Rocks with my friend. There are incense. I'm always burning incense. There's crystals. There's some tarot cards. And it almost feels like an altar, like a space that is a tribute to her in a way, and yet is filled with things that I adore. This is also Robin. She's everywhere. And to the right of the TV is a picture of my young mother. I think she was 21, 22, honestly. I don't know. But my mom has some legs for days. So I told her I was going to hang the photo when I first moved in, and she was like, honey, please do not hang the photo. And I said, I have to hang the photo. So that's Mom, and that's Robin, the two most important women in my life. So this area of plants, I've always had plants, I've always had lots of green in the space, but I was plant sitting for a neighbor a couple months ago. These are all my own plants, but at the time I only had this one, and I loved how it looked with more plants in it. So when she took her plants back, I was like, I have to supplement. So this is my little plant section. I have heard that plants like being around each other, so that's why I have them all clustered like this, and I just think it gives some depth to the space. A lot of my finds are thrift store finds. I really prefer more vintage over modern, so I'm always looking for stuff like that. I got the candle holder and the mirror at a vintage store in Cape Cod. This is wind chimes from my mother's town in Cape Cod, because I always grew up with them. And oh, we're at Nana. This is my Nana Marilyn when she was a young lady. My Nana was beautiful and wonderful, and she just would have loved seeing me in my own space, and she would have loved Robin so much. So I try to keep her out in the world. Getting into my little bedroom area. So one thing about my bed, it used to have legs on it. It used to be higher up, And when Robin was getting older, her legs were not working very well, her joints, and I took the legs off my bed so that she could get up there on her own. And recently I was like, oh, maybe I'll put my legs back on my bed, and I could not find them in my closet. So we're just hanging. We're hanging with a low bed, and it's fine. It honestly makes me kind of happy. This wall was not always mauve. It used to be white. And one day I was sitting in my apartment. I had the other wall, the green wall, painted, and it just didn't feel cohesive. I wanted something to make it sort of counter the forest green. So I painted this myself one day. I mixed a couple paints, white and purple, and I just smudged it, and I really like how it ended up. It feels very warm and easeful in here, which is what I'm going for. This little nightstand is a vintage find that my friend got at an estate sale at this old woman's house. It kind of had witchy, it feels like witchy to me. So I keep some tchotchkes in here. I keep my books and my journals, another naked woman, shocker. But yeah, this is where I hang out. I'm not somebody who like only sleeps in their bed. I do work on my bed, I eat on my bed. I love this little room, and I like this angle sort of looking out at the apartment because you can feel the flow of it. So that's my bed. This dresser was the first thing I ever purchased moving to New York. I got it for $60 at a thrift store. I think my Uber ride to bring it home was almost that expensive. But yeah, this was my first kind of thrift store purchase. I've changed the knobs since getting it, but that was one of my first ever purchases. So it's special to me. So I got super lucky with this apartment. When I was first looking, I was looking at studios and thinking I would live in a place where it was just one room with a little kitchen on the wall. And this is technically a studio, but it's actually 4 different rooms. So I have this main area, I have a separate kitchen, a dine-in, a foyer, and a bathroom. My bathroom honestly gets a lot of time because I take a lot of baths in the pink bathtub. But yeah, in this section of New York, a lot of the buildings are from the 1920s. So you're getting a lot more space, you're getting built-in bookshelves and archways. And I truly just couldn't be more grateful that my first apartment ever living by myself was this massive. Honestly, my friends who live downtown come over and are like, wait, what? Every day I wake up and I feel grateful. So a lot of my inspiration comes from women. I love the female form. I love round things, like my coffee table is round. I have a round lamp, circular, kind of infinite vibe, I guess. Anyway, my niece who's 8 was visiting me this winter, and she looks around and she was like, Emma, why are there so many naked women in this apartment? And I said, I don't know, I just love them. So yeah, I would say feminine, earthy, warm is what I'm going for. So this shelf obviously acts almost like a barrier or a boundary, and I wanted it to be open. I wanted you to be able to sort of see the sitting area. I have another photo of Robin. You're gonna just find that she's in every section. This is a little singing bowl, if you would like a demo. I use this sometimes when I'm teaching. So I have a lot of books, but I don't have a ton of shelving, at least in the home. So the bottom shelf is mostly some of my top books, some of my favorite books. And I like displaying books so that when people stay here, they can just read at their own leisure. What else? Oh, this little lady holding the moon was a gift from a student of mine. I'm gonna turn it on really quick so you can see her light up. Yeah, so my friend Elizabeth got me this. It's a little bit broken on the end, but I don't mind. But she kind of she's like a mascot of this apartment. So that's my moon lady. This little lady on top, I got at a thrift store in upstate New York when I was leading a yoga retreat there. And I don't know why I needed her, I just needed her. So she doesn't have a name. We could name her today, but yeah, she just hangs up there. I like having things at different levels, and I think that's why I put her there, and she kind of watches over the apartment. And then, just incense and sage and all the cliche yoga teacher things. This is my little mat and my props and where I grab from when I'm teaching online, because I teach virtual classes every week. So when I first moved into this space, I did not have the bookshelf yet, and the bed was actually facing this way. So the head of the bed was right here, and it kind of just felt like the whole room was a bedroom, which was cute. I liked it, but I always just felt like it needed more depth. It needed something separating the two spaces. So when I got this shelf, I loved it because of how open it was. Like, I didn't want something that was a solid structure. I wanted something that you could see through, and this felt like just enough because it stops about halfway in the middle of the room. And no, once I got this shelf, I was really happy with it. I never actually considered doing anything differently. And then I hung some overhead lighting, and I mean, this shelf changes all the time. I rearrange it every few months. I think is good to like move things around just for the energy. It's good to switch things up. So yeah, that was the plan. I might move my bed again. We'll see. I might put the legs on my bed someday, or we'll just keep it as it is. But for now, I'm really happy with it. So this is my workspace to give you the full effect. So I teach downtown. I teach in person, but when I'm teaching online, I set up my camera right here. I have this little ring light that's like half broken, and I put that right here, and I put a chair from my dining room in this space, and I prop my computer on the chair, and then I do the yoga class right here. My mat is kind of crooked right now, but there we go. And then I grab some of my props, and we do a little yoga flow. And you know, when Robin was alive, she would always be in the space. Sometimes she would sneeze or make a weird sound, or she would like bring a chicken container into the living room while I was teaching, and she just became such a part of my classes. So it is a little weird to teach now without her presence in here. I know every one of my students' living rooms. Like, I can look at the screen and just know who's in class based on their Zoom background. And they also know mine, which I love. They saw me move into this space during COVID. I was teaching before moving here, and then they saw this apartment transform from a big empty room to having a couch and then a rug and then a lamp. So it's been really special for them to see the evolution of my space. So probably my favorite thing about teaching yoga is all of the incredible people that I meet. I've been teaching for 11 years. Wow, a little over 11 years. And so many of my students have become friends of mine, and my community just continues to expand outward because I come across these beautiful souls who are kind and giving and open and receptive. And teaching, you know, it's such a specific line of work. I think yoga is very popular nowadays, which in one way is great because more people are doing yoga. And in another way, there's a lot of assumption about what it is, or how you have to look, or what you have to do. And to me, yoga is really just about connection. It's connecting to yourself, and it's connecting to how you feel and the environment that you're in. And I don't know more than anybody else, but I take the tools that I've learned over the last, plus decade, and I help people, I hope, become more comfortable in who they are, in their bodies, in their minds, in their environments. And I think COVID really changed the way that I teach, in that there was just so much happening in the world, and there was less need to create a boundary between my work and myself. So when I started bringing my students into my living room, virtually, they saw where I was spending all of my time. They saw when I did laundry and there were clothes on the couch. There was this kind of like authentic quality, I think, to the way that I was presenting who I was. And my teaching became much more natural. It became more grounded. Some days we wouldn't even do poses. We would just read poetry and cry together. But yeah, teaching yoga has completely changed who I am. It has made me so much more compassionate and empathetic toward people. And it's really reinstated to me that you never know what somebody is going through just by looking at them. I think a lot of us can make assumptions about that, but the more that you sit down and actually talk to people, you realize that we are all going through something at all times, and that's okay. And there's healing in that. And then the gallery wall. So I always knew when I was moving into an apartment that I wanted to create a gallery wall. This wall has changed a lot since I have moved in here. I think it started with one painting. This photo in the middle is of these women, these naked women in the forest. And my friend Becca actually gifted me that as a housewarming gift when I first moved in. So I put the ladies up first, and everything else kind of sprung from that. It's so random. I mean, that's my cousin and I when we were very, very little. I look ridiculous, but I love that photo. And then this is a picture of my mother holding me and my sister. I would say everything on the gallery wall is filled with mementos of things that people have gotten me. Some are old letters. This framed letter, Elizabeth, who is also the moon lamp lady, she wrote me during COVID. She's really good at writing letters. And it's just about going through this crazy time together and how the pandemic was this really weird, wild, thing that we had never experienced before, and it just speaks to the time, so I wanted to sort of commemorate that. My student got me this photo of a naked lady eating a donut because she said it reminded her of me. And the regular sign I actually just picked up. It's a vintage gas station sign, and my mother could not believe that I paid $35 for a sign that says regular. And she was like, "Why do you like the sign?" I said, "I don't know, I just do." So that's that. Oh, and this is really sacred to me. My friend Sarah, who is beautiful and gifted, drew me this painting of me and Robin for my birthday, and it just captures her beautiful, porky body. So this area right here is probably where I spend the most time in my apartment. I sit on my couch, I watch TV, I do work on my computer. I knew that I wanted a round coffee table when I first moved in. I just didn't know what that would look like. And I was really attracted to the kind of quirky structure of this. It's hollow on the inside, so it's not fully solid, but I liked the little separate pieces of wood. The only downside is that things drop into the pieces all the time. So if I were to flip it upside down, I don't know what you would find. I always have candles burning. I always have flowers. This is sort of my little space. And then I try to keep my remote in a cute little structure. So this is like an altar of sorts. I have my girl, Mary Oliver. I teach from her a lot. She's an incredible poet. And then this rug, actually, I purchased in Morocco, in Marrakesh, at some of the markets when I was in Morocco this past fall leading a yoga retreat. We had a day where we went to the markets, and I just saw this rug and I was like, I want it, I need it, I don't know where I'm gonna put it, but I really like layering pieces. I feel like it gives warmth and coziness to the space. So this is from Morocco. This little lamp is an IKEA lamp. Posted on his like living room or his bedroom had this lamp, and I messaged him and I said, "Where did you get that lamp? I love it." So that's where that came from. I like the warmth of a circle. I feel like it has good energy. And then my sister gifted me this photo. This was before I moved into this apartment. She said that it reminded her of me, and I love like a naked woman feeling herself. And this chair actually is kind of funny because I used to have this green chair actually where the white chair was. And one day I just became obsessed with wanting a white boucle chair. I don't know why. I just was like, I need a white chair. It needs to be this type of fabric. And I researched and I finally found this one, and I never sit in it. I never sit in it. When I have friends over, people sit here, so that's good. But I like the look of it. It's comfy. Robin used to sit in it. Yeah, so it's a good piece. The one thing that I always knew was that I wanted a forest green wall. I think I painted this wall maybe a month after moving in. I had my friend over, we taped, we put the drop cloth down, and I immediately just loved it. I love earth tones. I love colors that feel warm and comforting. And then last year, I started becoming obsessed with this like Moroccan cornflower blue color. And I painted this wall blue, and I did not like it. It did not come out. It was one of those things where like you think it's gonna look one way and then it does not. So I stenciled over it with this white pattern, and it looked cute, but the whole time I had this wall blue and white, I just was like, it's not me. I don't feel like it's me. But I didn't want to go through painting all of it again. And then I think, gosh, maybe 6 months ago or more, almost, I don't know. But I noticed I had some green paint under my living room or under my kitchen sink, and I was like, let me just see if I have enough. And I had enough, and we are back. She is green again, and I feel like myself. This was gifted to me from my friend Zaza. She just always has cool stuff, and she was moving, and I really liked this little, it's a beverage crate actually from Albany, New York, which is an area that I grew up close to. And right now it's honestly just hiding a lot of my cords, but I like the vintage feel of it. These are also some other books that I have read and displayed. And this is mostly yoga books. Obviously we have a curvy lady because she deserves to be shown, some fresh lavender, and some books about women and about bodies, which obviously are inspirations to me. Yeah, so I you know, this photo here was actually taken from this book, Everybody, which is this beautiful book, lots of different artists in it. And I ended up just framing photos out of the book. I sometimes feel like people think that you have to have a lot of money to have nice art, but I think if you have a good eye and you buy a nice frame, you can do whatever you want with it. So that's sort of the inspiration behind this. I just wanted it to be a beautiful little area. The "This must be the place" sign, kind of random. I wanted a neon sign, and I wanted it to say something cool and meaningful. And "This must be the place" just feels like this is the moment. We are in the present moment. That is that elusive place that we are always seeking to be, and it's so challenging to actually be there. And then obviously, my girl Robs. You know, when dogs are here, they end up running toward that box of ashes, interestingly enough. So I feel like they all sense her, and she would want it that way. She was a diva. So I think it can be overwhelming when designing a space sometimes. I have a friend of mine who just moved into the neighborhood, and she was like, I don't even know what my aesthetic is. And I said, well, why don't you just take a breath, close your eyes, and think about how you want to feel when you're in a space. And that's really how I decorated this room, is how do I want to feel when I'm in here? And that's why there's some deep kind of earth tones paired with, you know, lower lighting. I hate overhead lighting. I love an accent light. I have candles burning all of the time. I always say that plants, candles, and paint can totally transform a space. So that's really the inspiration for this. I don't get a ton of overhead light, which is my one, like, if I could get more natural light, that would be incredible. But I try to use that. Like I want it to feel like a den, like a beautiful, cozy den that's also really pretty to look at, and that doesn't feel too precious. I want people to be able to relax and like sit on the floor or grab a cushion off the couch and just make themselves comfortable. So I think if you're ever overwhelmed with designing a space, you first have to start with looking at what you have. You know, you got to work with the bones, and then just make it an extension of you. I think sometimes it's very trendy to want to do really like a minimalist look or have your house always look perfect. And I think you don't have to do that. Just be comfortable in the space and buy things that make you feel beautiful and inspired. All right, we're going to the bathroom. I know that's not very exciting, but it's actually one of my favorite places in the house. Let's pause here. So I had big plans for this hallway when I first moved in. I was imagining head to toe bookshelves and all the things. And then I was like, I'm not gonna wanna sit in a hallway reading, probably. I'm gonna wanna sit where there's windows. So it honestly became a place where I would buy furniture and then just put the furniture that I never used. But I do love these chairs. These were also gifted to me by a dear friend. They're vintage, they're beautiful. People can sit here if they want. And then this is Robin's bed. I haven't been able to get rid of it. Sometimes I sit on it or I smell her toys just to feel her. So That's what this is right now. And here we are. This is one of my favorite places in my apartment. I love the checkered floors. I love the pink bathtub. I love the water pressure. I love the light, even my weird toilet. Like, it's just so, it's so quirky. It's so 1920s. Yeah, I take probably more baths than most people. And I love a good soap sud. So the bathroom is very sacred to me, even though that's odd to say. But water, like bodies of water. It's just so cleansing. I'm in here all the time. And I wanted to do a sheer curtain just because the space is pretty small. So I feel like having the curtain that you can see through kind of lets the room feel a little bit bigger. Eucalyptus hanging in the shower always. That's really it. I got super lucky. My friends recently stayed here and they were raving about the bathtub. So yeah, this is another photo of Robin that a student of mine, her friend is an artist, and she painted this gorgeous photo, which I feel like it really captures Robin's essence. She just has this like stoic, wise thing about her. So now when everyone goes to the bathroom, they get to know that Robin is watching them. And a plant, obviously. So the pink bathtub came with the house. It's one of my favorite features. It's a very kind of old school situation. In order to take a bath, you have to push this thing down. And I believe this was an old laundry hamper, which I do not use, but it's interesting. But yeah, everything in the bathroom came as is. The tiling was already done. I don't think it's original, but it was redone. But the pink tub in and of itself, she was born with it. So Robin is my muse. She's the love of my life. She was a 65-pound pit bull who looked like a potato. That was one of her nicknames. And she just, we adore each, I mean, I'm talking about it like it's in the present. I was gonna say we adore each other, but I know we do. She's still here in some ways. I adopted her when I was 25. I met a woman who I did my yoga training with who was affiliated with a shelter, and I said, hey, are they looking for fosters? And she said, give them a call. And they told me they had this one dog, Robin, and I was like, Robin? The name Robin, really? But whatever. We have this one dog, Robin. She's been sitting in the shelter for 2 years, and she's not very marketable because she's 4 years old. She was bred. She has saggy nipples. Nobody wants her. And I was like, let's meet. And the day that I went to the shelter, I saw a few dogs that day and they were all adorable, but Robin came out and she kind of has this like world-ending face. And I just knew. I just knew she was my girl. And they sent me home with a bag of food and a leash, and my plan was to foster. And of course, all my friends knew and my mom knew within I think 2 days. I was like, I can't give her up. And that was almost 10 years ago. So she really grew up with me. We did a lot together. She was my everything, and I miss her every day. But I like talking about her, and when you look at this apartment, you'll see that she is everywhere, and I really hope to make this a tribute to her as well. So the built-in bookshelves are a huge, huge win. Honestly, a lot of these books right now are just extra books that I have, and I didn't have room for it anywhere else. But yeah, this is all of my lip glosses and products. I throw everything here: my keys, my headphones, my wallet. I have some oils that I use for teaching. My friend came over and joked that every lip color I have is basically in the same color scheme. So I guess I have a type. But yeah, this is just random tchotchkes, obviously Robin. And then, welcome to my dining space. It came with a French door, which I'm just gonna open to be dramatic. But this is, I'm really lucky to have this. I honestly don't use this area as much as I thought I would. I thought I would have breakfast here all the time and do work here, but when I'm entertaining, when I have friends over, we eat at the table and I set it really nice and proper. But I like having this space. I feel lucky to have this space. My friend, who is a photographer, is probably so embarrassed on my behalf right now because these photos are not hung straight. And she was like, I cannot believe that you can just live with that. And I was gonna change them for today, but I was like, nope, I'm gonna keep them crooked. It's okay, it doesn't bother me. This is a photo that my niece drew when she was around 5 of me, which I find really charming, just like the pigtails and the eyelashes, and I just was like, that's cute, I have to frame this. And my former roommate, who is very crafty, very talented, he made this little lamp for me, this little overhead lamp. I have since, I cut it on my own to make the light a little bit brighter, and he was like, Emma, you did a terrible job cutting it, but it looks organic, So this is my little dining room. This is just a book. This is my beach reads. This is like random fun books, and I needed some more space. Okay, here we have the kitchen. The tiled floors, as you can see, are similar to the bathroom. I spend a lot of time in the kitchen for obvious reasons. I love to eat. I love to snack. I love to just like be in my kitchen drinking coffee. Yeah, the kitchen is not modern. If I owned this apartment, I would probably maybe redo the shelves, but I kind of love it. I kind of love like how weird and old and cute it is. And so I try to accentuate that theme. I just got these vintage Coca-Cola ads at this thrift store. I think they're from the 1960s. And they're basically saying that Coke is healthy and that you should drink it all the time and that hospitals serve it. So I thought that was funny, and I put them in frames and just decorated the space that way. The one kind of annoying thing about this is that when you're doing the dishes, you have to carry the wet dish over to the dish rack. So the floor can get a little bit wet sometimes, but it's not so bad. And yeah, I try to decorate my fridge with lots of my favorite things. So this is a calendar of goats wearing different clothing. I have old cards I got on my birthday. I have a picture of my young dad. My friend Zaza, who has lent me a lot of the furniture that you see in this space. This is a little redwood tree because Robin, one of her nicknames is Redwood. So there's just lots of, I like having things that remind me of my family and my friends and community. This is my young Nana, the one that was in the windowsill. She was so beautiful. And yeah, the kitchen is just, it's a place that probably my kitchen and my bathtub are where I spend the most. Oh, and in the window here, we have Miss Rob's again. My friend gifted this to me shortly after she passed. So this is a little stained glass of my girl and more plants for obvious reasons. I think if I were to own this, I might tear down this wall so that the whole space was open concept. I do like having the flow of different rooms, but I also just love like an open floor plan. So I think that's what I would do. I would take down this wall, expand the kitchen, give myself a little bit more counter space, and then just have everything be in the same area. And I would get like, I don't know what color the cabinets would be. They wouldn't be this color, but it's okay. We're working with what we got. And maybe a dishwasher would be nice. I don't need a microwave, but a dishwasher would be cool. So this little area I painted just where you see the pink. It used to be white, and I just always felt like the kitchen needed something. And the only reason it's this color is because I had leftover paint under the sink. And I also have a pink tea kettle. So I was like, let me just accent it. I obviously did not have enough paint to do the whole wall. So I tried to make it intentional. We have some butts. This is the Cafe Luxembourg restaurant. It's one of my favorite restaurants, and this is one of their postcards. And then a mirror because I'm a Leo. I think that home is more of a feeling than a literal place. Although I am somebody who really likes to create a tangible space. I think the nature of my work, I'm guiding people all day long, and it's important for me to have a space where I can come home and just do that. But truly, at the end of the day, like, if this apartment was taken away tomorrow, I would be okay because I have an incredible community of friends and family and students, and I feel that in my work every day. Home is something that we create. It's relationships, it's warmth, it's support, it's showing up for each other. And it's knowing that that energy really can transcend any physical space. So I'm so grateful for the beautiful home that I have, but I also know that it's more a feeling more than anything. Thank you so much for coming by Homeworthy. It has been truly wonderful to share my home with you, but I have to go teach. So I'll see you soon. Have a great day. Bye.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Olivia. Welcome to my home in Nashville, Tennessee. I can't wait to show you around. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
If you're looking to make your own space more homeworthy, we've teamed up with Cherish, our go-to online destination for chic, one-of-a-kind finds, sourced from the world's most wonderful vendors.
Mercury drops are from an artist I found on Cherish.
Whether we're after a bold statement piece or the perfect finishing touch, Cherish has extraordinary items that leave a lasting impression.
This table I bought on Cherish from Berlin, and it has a little bit of it's a tray, and it is mid-century, and it's one of my favorite pieces.
It's where we find iconic looks to set homes apart.
I think many dealers would agree that Cherish is the absolute best.
So to support Homeworthy and discover amazing items from Cherish, scan the QR code or click on the link below to start shopping.
I'm Olivia's showmate. I'm an interior designer and realtor. Welcome to my 900 square foot home in Nashville, Tennessee. My husband and I bought this house a month or two before we got married, and we have been here for 2 years. It had been sitting on the market for a while, and I remember we were scrolling through the MLS and we found it. We were like, what's wrong with this place? My husband's a contractor, so we ended up using basically everything that we could that was here, but renovating it quite extensively. We really loved the area. We're in East Nashville right now. We're super close to restaurants and bars and shops and kind of a hyper-local neighborhood, which we really love. Welcome to my living room. This room has kind of come together over the years. It's been moved through multiple houses, except I did just purchase this 6-penny couch, which I was hesitant to buy because they don't have a showroom, at least in Nashville. So I had never sat on a 6-penny couch, but their branding and marketing was just so good that I fell into it, and I have absolutely zero regrets. Like, this is the best couch I've ever owned in my life. And we actually got it custom made for this space because it's kind of small, and they'll do that. They'll customize your couch size, which is so cool, and they don't charge any extra for it. So it's just kind of the price of a normal couch, but just whatever size you get. So we did that for here, and we picked this color Nectarine Dream because we are not like the most careful people. So definitely not the cleanest, and we have cats and pets and things like that. So picked this color that would kind of hide. It's not white, okay? We'll just say that. It's not gonna like show all of the dirt, and we love it. It's like very fitting for the space, actually. The coffee table is, I think it was actually like maybe some sort of cart or like school, something that like belonged at a school. It had wheels on it that we just ripped off to make it a little bit shorter to fit the couch. But it works great, and it's already distressed. That's the thing I love about old furniture, is that it's nothing precious. Like, we're very not precious people, and we can't have precious things. So yeah, you can just like put your wet soda on it and it's not gonna leave a ring, or if it does, who cares? And then this dresser I got, it's like a beautiful burlwood veneer, which I really love, and it was from my neighbors. My parents' neighbors gave it to them. My parents had it for a long time. They gave it to me. The drawers don't really work, but we keep like linens and some holiday stuff in there. It's not very functional because it's behind the couch and we don't use it that much, but it works and it's perfect for where it is. I've always wanted a fireplace, so I was really excited that this house had one. But unfortunately we can't use it as it is just due to they added like it used to be a bedroom over here, which is like so small, but it's now a bathroom. But there's not enough space in between the walls for it to function as a fireplace. One day I would really love to get a wood burning stove and like have an insert of a wood burning stove, like a little tiny one in here. But right now it's just decorative, but still I love the way it looks. It's a nice like focal point for the room. This is a rotating door. There's like always something new on the mantle. I got this at an estate sale. These little angels, these little cherubs holding my peach blossoms from the backyard, which is fun. This is a photo of my mom sleeping when she was a teenager. I don't know why I love that picture so much. And then this mirror came from, I think it was an old dresser. It was like on top of an old dresser. So we just took the brackets off. Again, I just found it, but it works really well for that space. This is probably my favorite thing in my entire house. It's this tiny little table. It's like Thanksgiving prep table. We have like some grouse, I don't know the plural of that, little recipe book, little potato, turnips. It's just so cute. And then this lamp this sconce I got at a yard sale too and dyed the shade blue. This is my favorite thing in my house. It's my original Howard Finster painting. Found this at an estate sale. I saw a picture of an artwork by his son on the estate sale picture. I didn't even see this. Like I did not even see this. But I got to the house and me and like 3 other people were kind of like searching the house for anything Finster. And we were like asking the people that worked there. We were like referencing the photos for the paint colors of the rooms. Like we were running up and down the stairs. And one of the workers sent us to a back room upstairs. And we were all up there looking around and I was like, I just gave up because I didn't want to fight anyone. I was like, I'm not gonna like go too crazy. So I walked down the stairs and then I looked to the right and this guy moved this giant envelope and this was sitting under it. And I just paused and waited and like was gonna see if he was gonna grab the painting and he didn't. So I like ran over to it, grabbed it, and I was like shaking at the cash register because I didn't want the people that like we were kind of in camaraderie over trying to find it. I didn't want them to know that I found it because I didn't want them to be sad. But yeah, I just got it. It was $18, biggest score of my life. Probably will never happen again. But then here we have some photos of my husband's parents when they got married, and then his mom down there. She passed away a few years ago, but those are just special pictures. And then this collage artwork from an artist that I really love as well. And then again, just like little things that were given, like my friend's mom gave my mom this lamp and then my mom didn't have a place for it, so I took it. My neighbor growing up, like when I was like probably 11 years old, gave me this pillow. It's shabby chic, like Rachel Ashby shabby chic, really old, but I just love it. It's been in every house. And then these are from Etsy, these little pillowcases. They're directly from India, and they were great to work with. They helped me, let me change a few things, which was really cool. And then this is my vintage matchbook collection. And it also has just like matchbooks from restaurants in town or places that I've visited. I have a favorite matchbook. It's actually these that we had made for our wedding. It's like kind of a fun little souvenir. Nobody's ever grabbed one when they come over, but they totally could. Another little thing from my husband and I's wedding. One of my, I lived in New York for a summer, just like doing a bunch of internships, and went to a market and met this woman named Janie Korn and bought a candle from her. And I commissioned her to do this for our cake topper. It was us like in our wedding outfits, but this is probably my favorite souvenir from that day because it's us as young cuties forever. So that's a really fun thing to have. And then on this wall, that photo up top is by my friend and brilliant photographer, Mamie Heldman. Shout out if you're watching this. And then Harry Underwood is one of my favorite local artists. He does amazing work. I really want a giant painting of his one day. That would be my goal. I have a few little pieces of his. And then that is also from a local artist, and I got that from my mom as well. And then on this wall, I can show you, I'll take it down for you. This is my husband's incredible artwork as a child. I'm very proud of it. It's like one of the best collage works I've ever seen. Okay, so this is a painting by another local artist named Todd Green, and behind it I keep this little card that came with it. It's actually a copy of the sermon that his dad wrote. I think I'm getting the story right. his dad couldn't read or write, so he like drew out his sermons in pictures. And so this painting is based on this little square. I can't remember what scripture it's based on at the moment, but it's really cool. And then that's just another, I think it's a child's artwork from an estate sale. This is the first piece of furniture, like new piece of furniture I ever bought. And I actually only have 4 of those, I think. But yeah, it was like, so I needed something to go under the TV. And again, it would be kind of a challenge. We could do it, but mounting the TV on this cement block wall was going to be a challenge. So we just needed something for it to sit on. And yeah, it's like the perfect piece. It's like mango wood, maybe. I can't remember what kind of wood it is, but it's interesting because it has these like weird spots, and it's just a very different kind of wood than I'm used to seeing, and I really liked it. And then above that we have a little plate collection of a turkey, a pheasant, and some bunnies that are just cute to me. And then here, this is just a weird, you know, every house has its like weird little stuff. Behind this, you'll find some weird little thing that I don't know what's going on there, but thankfully I have this brilliant LaCroix by Brett Douglas Hunter, another local dude, artist. So yeah, it just covers up that weird thing, so perfect. I think the key to living in a small space is having furniture that holds stuff. Like, for instance, we had a table next to the couch, like a normal person would have a table next to your couch, but we can't put anything in a table. So we like had to have a dresser there just to have storage for something. And then like this piece of furniture, for instance, it just like holds, I would not subject you to opening, like you don't want to see what's inside there. I'll just say that. But just having furniture with doors that will close and you can hide stuff is the key to having your things in a small space. I also have this is actually a creative co-op table. So really affordable. They have like, you can buy a really expensive version of these little iron tables, but like this version is just the best. This is my side of the couch, and I like am always having like, I don't know, a glass of water, a cup of tea, my little chocolate covered blueberries. Like there's always so much on this table, and it works so well, and you can just move it around really easily. So I think the beauty of working in a business where you're either like my husband being a contractor or like me working in real estate and interior design, like we are just so enthralled in the business of other people's homes. And this lamp, for instance, was a client's lamp that they no longer had space for, like that my husband was working on her house. So yeah, now it's our lamp, which is so amazing. It's like a really nice floor lamp, but it's one of our favorite things. The light it gives off is really nice. And we also got this door for this house as well. We really wanted an old antique door, which we probably could have sourced, but we just ended up ultimately just getting it made from a local place and then getting this amazing entry set from Signature Hardware. But I am obsessed with this. It's just such a nice feeling to lock and unlock the door. Just like feels amazing. This house is built in 1945, so it is very old. Like its bones are very old. All of the walls are concrete block, which my husband being a contractor, it's actually something that he like hasn't really had that much experience with, which was funny because it's just not super common and it's way too expensive to build houses like that these days. So it's actually pretty cool, kind of our own little tornado shelter. But yeah, it was built in 1945, but it had been like flipped and renovated several times. And by the time we got our hands on it, it had just gone through another flip. It was a disaster. It was like the classic story of like the cheap flip. The plumbing was like defying gravity, essentially. The kitchen had LVP and it was like an inch taller than the rest of the floor. So we ripped that out and my husband extended the hardwoods in there, and then we added this arch. We like extended the kitchen out a little bit and added an arched opening to kind of add some separation in this small space, since our like living and dining and kitchen's all in one room. But it made it feel a little bit more cohesive, but still adding that separation. And then the cabinets were just from Home Depot, and we ended up just being able to repurpose them and not throw them out, even though I don't like them very much, but they do a great job for what they are. But we've made them look like super cozy, and we chose like some pretty affordable finishes. Yeah, basically everything we did was super budget friendly because that's all we could do after getting married and buying a house. But we're really happy with it. It's super cozy. And now we'll go into our dining room, which is just a few steps away. Welcome to our dining room. It actually has also evolved quite a bit. My house is constantly changing. I cannot ever keep anything the same. Like I have to mix it up all the time. And I'm very thankful for Facebook Marketplace for that. So we had a table in the center here. We had a square table with chairs, but ultimately felt like we needed to edit that for the ease of flow in this space and just like being able to travel through easily. So we found this pew on Facebook Marketplace. It was actually like, I think it was over 11 feet long. It was like a very long dogwood pew from a church in Ohio, I think, and we drove to East Tennessee and picked it up. And I thought it was going to be easy. We could just like, miter it and make it a corner bench and it would be no problem. It was actually very difficult ultimately, just given all of the angles, because we have like this and then you had this and then it was just like so many angles involved. My husband figured it out after like the whole Saturday, but yeah, it worked out so amazing. I have no idea how he did it, but it's like a really good miter, I'll say. And then we got this table from my sister who got it on Facebook Marketplace and didn't have a place for it. I really don't like the top very much, so we put this tablecloth on it for now. Kind of a good, just like, it'll probably change in no time too. And then I almost took these off before you guys came here, but I did attempt to make my own bench cushions. For now, they will work. I've reached out to a few upholstery people, but yeah, I just am not a seamstress, I'll say that. But the fabric is cute, and I got it at an antique store, so it's cute. And then we have chickens in the backyard, and this is kind of where I keep their eggs when I collect them until the bowl fills up, but you can keep eggs out on the counter for like a long time, so we just kind of keep them there until it's time to wash them. But yeah, and then these chairs, just mix match. Just got this one, little rolly wooden chair. Actually really comfy, so I like that one. And then for the artwork in here, again, just things that I've gotten over the years. This one I actually went out of my way and ordered on Etsy because I really liked the colors. It's a Swedish mid-century oil painting, and it's just a picture of a pail, but I liked the color. And then this is a picture of my grandma, 1939, school days is what it says, but I like that picture. And then my husband rides motorcycles, so we have that little motorcycle gang up there from, I don't know, yesteryear. Don't know what year that's from. And then this cool old still life also from who knows what. I don't know where that's from. And then we just recently added this pendant here when we moved the table over because we wanted to kind of anchor it a little bit more, give it more placement over here. And we added this pendant from Green Row, which I like, but it'll probably change, but I like it. And then on this side of the dining room is storage. So again, have to have a piece of furniture that can hold all my stuff. So I have this thing that I got on Facebook Marketplace. It kind of reminds me of a piece of furniture that Duval sells and makes in England, but it has like a beadboard back, but I really like it. It's a nice hutch and it holds like literally so much stuff, especially under here. It is like so used. And then a fun little trinket in here. I also have another little table over here, but it's a baking table. So it looks like somebody just was baking cupcakes and got up and left, which I just love. I don't know why. Couldn't tell you why I love these little tables so much, but I do. And then this goose, I'm obsessed with. I genuinely can't think of anything that is more me than this guy. I think I got it for $20 at an antique store just outside of Nashville. So I'm a huge fan of that guy. And then I have a few like long burger baskets. I think they were like really popular in the 90s. My mom had a million, so these are her old baskets. And then if you spend much time on Pinterest, you've probably seen this guy. It's one of the doozy lamps from Etsy. And I ordered it. It came from China. Took like 2 months, but it's really cute and it is just like a little charming lamp. And then over here is my coffee station, coffee and tea. Got my little espresso maker. I make a tea every night from High Garden. It's like a local tea company that you can order online. I recommend you do. It's the best tea in the world in my opinion. But they make really amazing herbal blends and I do that every single night. And then I have my plate wall over here. I actually got this duck platter from my mom for Mother's Day. And it ended up back in my possession somehow. I'm not sure how that happened. And then I love this like folk artist, Grandma Moses. I have a few prints of hers, but these plates are both Grandma Moses prints, paintings in plate form, which I really love that too. And then these are just 2 old antique plates. Nothing really goes together, but it works. So originally when this house was built in 1945, there was a wall here. And then this was the kitchen. So it was like a truly tiny kitchen. But by the time we got it, again, that wall was gone. There's just like a header plate there that we made look like a column or a beam. But we decided to make the kitchen just a little bit bigger and added this little arched wall with these sconces on it for a little romance at night. But I think it's a nice way to separate the spaces. I started working for a luxury real estate team here in Nashville a little over 4 years ago. So I have a lot of experience in a lot of really beautiful homes, which kind of inspired me in a way, like beyond my my personal taste and my kind of constant redecorating of my own house. But being in these homes, and like my sister was a wedding planner or is a wedding planner, we kind of decided to come together and start an interior design business. So I still have like 1 foot in the door in real estate, and then I'm, half real estate, half interior design at this point. But right now we're working on a lot of new construction and renovations and things like that. And it's just so much fun to be able to help people bring their visions to life and help them make the choices to bring that personality, their own personality, into their homes. It's a very fun process. And then when we're designing new construction homes, it's been really important to us to add character into those homes so that when people buy them, they're not like immediately feeling like they need to like throw out the vanity light or whatever. Like they buy the house as it is and they feel the character that already exists there. Like that's really important to us, to create a little bit of personality in those houses. So yeah, that's where my career has been heading over the past year. This year has been our first year in business in design, so it's been so fun. It's been like a whirlwind. We're very busy, which is amazing. Okay, I'd love to show you the kitchen next. Welcome to my kitchen. When we bought this house, it just had a few Home Depot cabinets and then some appliances that, didn't make too much sense. But we really decided we didn't want to waste anything, because we were like, our goal is maybe next year or someday to be able to afford some custom cabinetry in here. So there was no need to buy or do anything that we couldn't afford at the time. So we really wanted to reuse the Home Depot cabinets that were here. And I think we accomplished that pretty well. So we kept what was existing. We just updated the hardware. These are from Lee Valley Tools, which is a really great place to find affordable, unique door hardware. So we upgraded the cabinets with that, and I think it makes it look a little bit more charming. This piece we got from, it kind of works as an island, which is so lucky to me. It's the perfect size for this kitchen, and it gives us just a little bit more counter space, because this space is really small. And we got this at an antique store. And again, it's like one of those things that is just so not precious at all. Like it has we spill water on it every single day. It is in great condition, and it'll probably stay with us for the rest of our lives. We love it. And for countertops, again, we were just looking for affordable, so we just went with butcher block. We did it all ourselves, which is like one of the many benefits of butcher block, and it adds a nice warmth. So I really like that too. And then for our sink, I got this on Facebook Marketplace. It's terrible. It is awful. It was blue when we got it, and then I got somebody else on Facebook to refinish it. And I do think that ultimately was a mistake. I think I probably could have just bought a new sink with how much money I spent refinishing it, but we tried to use an old one. I like the way it looks. It just is chipped and scratched and just does not function like I wish it would, but that's okay. This is just a Kingston brass faucet, and then we have this copper backsplash that we just got at an estate sale, and we just cut it to fit here, and it kind of just catches the water and will oxidize even more over time. This is just where we keep our mugs and cups and things. This shelf is also from an antique store, and then it's just nice because I really am a little particular about what mugs that I buy. Everything is handmade, and I really try to have them all related to travel or like places that we've been. So like I would say like 80% of these mugs are from our travels, except for these Bennington pottery ones are made in Vermont by Bennington potters, and I just collect that pottery. So yeah, this is a pig from a 1930s butcher shop specifically. And I love folk art again, and I just think it's like so goofy and cute, and it's perfect for our kitchen. And then we have just a bunch of random stuff here, you know. We got another Longenberger basket. This is where I keep my dirty dish towels. And then I really like little hand brooms, so little hand broom collection in enamelware. I love enamelware. And then over here, this house came with like a glass cooktop range, the cheapest one, you know, from Home Depot. And I just never liked anything about it. Definitely not a dream. But our neighbor was giving away this one, and we ended up just trading it out, which most people, I don't know if most people would agree with me that they like coil electric cooktops better, but if you're doing electric, but I just like really love them because you can, like, if you're cooking something with cast iron, or, you know, you just don't have to worry about it breaking, and you don't have to worry about scraping off like the grease with a razor or whatever you have to do with the glass cooktop. So I really love this one for some reason. I don't know. It just fits the vibe more maybe. And then here we have our $3 Rembrandt print, and behind it is actually the electrical panel, because this is such an old house. It predates the electrical codes. So yeah, panels in the kitchen. So just kind of a sneaky way to hide that. And then this is a medicine cabinet that was in my parents' powder bathroom growing up. They ended up taking that out of their house, and this was just in the shed, and I like grabbed it when we were renovating. Oh, something's gonna fall out. But now it's just a spice cabinet. We ended up building it in because there was a door here, but our neighbor's driveway is right there, so there's really no point of us to be able to like walk out into our neighbor's driveway. So we just took out the door and put this little medicine cabinet in, so it's super fun. And then we added these sconces from Etsy on either side. And then we did these open shelvings. This is some Doug fir that my husband had left over from a project. And we just sliced it up and made it into some shelves with, again, mostly handmade potteries, like what I prefer to have, just like, you know, anything that has character in it. It makes it way more fun to eat off of. So yeah, try to do everything handmade, except for obviously a few things. I go through phases of baking, I would say. I went through, you know, a sourdough phase like most people, but not a huge baker, honestly. But I do use that probably like once a week, one way or another. I find a way to use that mixer. I love the color, and it kind of coordinates with the sconce. And then this, we ran out of cabinets, and we didn't want to buy more. And my husband just built this like little corner situation. Our microwave is actually under there, but this is an old tablecloth that I just made into this little cafe curtain, and that's where we store our like kitchen pots and things like that. And then we have like a million magnets and junk on this side of the fridge. And this is our spaceship fridge that really doesn't fit into this kitchen at all. It's like way modern, but actually kind of like that about it. I don't know. It's like the nicest thing that we own, possibly. Love this thing. And then for pantry storage, again, storage is an issue in this house. So we just found this old cabinet at an antique store again and just made it our pantry storage. So we keep all of our food in here. And then, yeah, that's kind of the kitchen. I think my personal style has evolved over the years quite a bit, but it really started just in childhood. Growing up, like my mom was a very creative home decorator. She loves to paint and do all sorts of arts and crafts. And our neighbors growing up were artists and have really unique homes. And I think just like being in those homes growing up and like having that as like a foundation for what makes a home feel like a home really has helped me develop my own sense of style. Nothing that I ever buy, I'm ever thinking about like what it will go with. I'm just purchasing it or like finding it, getting it, whatever, making it even, just based on what I like, and then kind of just piecing it all together. It's very collected. I won't even say it's curated, even though I guess technically it is. And just based on, yeah, it's kind of like a patchwork quilt almost. Just a bunch of different things that I enjoy. And my husband, thankfully, is also inspired by a lot of things that I like as well. So, and also thankfully he's not so opinionated that he won't let me keep the weird stuff. Sometimes he, you know, has his feelings about things, but we make it work. And I like a lot of stuff, but not too much stuff. And I'd love to show you my bedroom next. Welcome to our bedroom. Betty has decided to join us here. But yeah, this room is not massive, as you can imagine, but it works for us right now. This bedspread I really love from Etsy. It goes all the way to the floor, which again, storage. It allows us to hide some like baskets under the bed. And then this painting my mom did actually. So when she was young, she did that painting. And then by the bed, we have that tiny Amazon thing that's actually, it's like an Alexa, but it's my tiny TV at night. So not quite as gaudy as a big TV, but yeah, it is the perfect little sidekick. These pillows are also from Etsy, and then these are from a family friend. And then this was actually a yellow duvet once upon a time, and then over the like mustard yellow no longer was my exact taste, so ended up dyeing it green. I actually want to dye it another color again, but yeah, that's the beauty of buying linen, because you can really change the color quite frequently. And then this, we have like just some random, you know, old things in here mixed with this new dresser that we keep all of our clothes in, of course. This little sconce was from just a thrift store. And then we went to Sanibel Island over, I think, last fall, and found this giant shell on the beach. So this is like my prized possession, really, because I don't know where I'm gonna find that ever again. So that's my little reading light over there is from, it was either Crate and Barrel or CB2, but it's a great little light that it just plugs into the wall, so it makes it easy to hang and kind of take anywhere. That print above my mini TV is another Howard Finster print. I think that's Elvis again. The one out there is Elvis, I forgot to mention. And then that deer plate is from a neighbor as well. And then we have my old shoe trunk here. And my closet in this room, it when we bought the house, it didn't have doors. And it was actually, I think, a laundry room. There were laundry hookups in there. So what we did was just add a like curtain rod and some IKEA storage things, and we just put this curtain floor to ceiling to kind of make it look a little bit more elegant. But yeah, it works as like a great closet. There's tons of storage in there for me. And then we have another, that's the water heater closet over there, but it's enough room for at least my husband to keep like some clothes in there. So basically all the rugs in this house have come from eBay. I have like one seller on there specifically that I am very loyal to. Now I'll show you my bathroom. Okay, so this was quite a transformation from when we purchased the home. It actually was, the toilet was, or I think the sink was here, the toilet was here, and then the bathtub was in this alcove, and it was a tub shower combo. I think that the tub was like a foot tall for some reason. So we ended up taking all of that out, and the vanity was oversized. Like this is a very narrow space. So the vanity that was here was oversized, and it was just a little clunky. We did the Zallige tile in here. My husband laid it, he figured it out, looks great. And then we got this like tiny little pedestal sink, which is the perfect size for right here. And we put in a medicine cabinet. So when we took the mirror down, we realized it was there was like space for a medicine cabinet back here. It was ultimately kind of tough to find the right size. So we did end up jackhammering the wall opening just a little bit, which was quite a scene to fit this medicine cabinet. So that worked out. And then we put the tub here so that when you walk in, you can just like have a really nice view of this beautiful clawfoot tub that we got on Facebook Marketplace. We got it so small originally because we thought it was going to fit into this space where the existing tub was, but it actually just works out because then we have a bookshelf behind the tub now for additional bathroom storage. And then we got this system from Vintage Bath and Tub, which is perfect. Like it works so well. I really love that. And then we got this just from my parents' house. I think it was like it's certainly from a thrift store. But it works as just a nice like extension of the sink. Since I don't have anywhere to put like any makeup or anything, like it's a little bit of a workstation. And this little chair I got at the thrift store, and it holds my rings, but it also is a good iPhone stand for when I'm in the bathtub. I just will put my phone on it. And then I have my salts for my baths that I take every single day. And then this shower curtain, we wanted it to be long to the floor. I ended up just finding that on Amazon actually. But it works really well and kind of adds some romance. This rug is actually from Etsy. It's the only rug in the house not from eBay. And then we have another Harry Underwood painting here. We color drenched this room in a very like light baby pink. So it's almost white, but it's just a little warm. And I really love the color. It's perfect. Okay, and I'd love to show you my office as well. Okay, so this is our office. It could be one day a guest room, but for now, it's our home office. It's just a nice place for us to get work done. It's very, definitely a lot of like craft things going on in here. Like I have a bunch of fabrics and my sewing machine there. And this piece of furniture was actually given by my great grandparents to my parents when they got married. There's like Sharpie on the back that's like a little note to them. It's sweet. So this kind of works as our linen closet in this space. Holds like our old pillows and things like that. And then I have this little table set up for kind of just like a lot of paint samples and like trying to figure out colors and fabrics and wood tones for some projects that we're working on at the moment. This is just where I sit literally every day, all day. The light, it's really nice to be by the window. I do feel like I get some vitamin D, so it doesn't feel like I'm so indoors. This I just got at a yard sale. I really love this lamp. These are just like some random things that I've collected over the years. This is a portrait of Patsy Cline by an artist, I believe in Kentucky, called Billy Lilly, and I really love that. This pendant light is one that I've wanted for years. It's from Pearson Ward, which is a design duo. They're based in Nashville and LA. They're like who I want to be when I grow up, basically. But yeah, I bought this pendant on sale, and I originally got it I haven't even touched on this, but like next year we're going to be adding an upstairs in this house, believe it or not. That's the goal. And there will be like a primary suite up there. And this is going to go above my bathtub. Like that's my plan. But for now, it's in here. And I really love it. It's like kind of it's just very unique and I love it. And it's like worth every penny to me. I'm obsessed with it. We went with this green color in here. I don't know. I go back and forth with it. Like, honestly, it's probably something that's going to change too over time. But yeah, I do like this green. It's just I can't even remember what color it is. But it's great for what this room is now. I really love it. And then right off my office, actually connecting basically everything is this tiny little hallway. And this was a piece of art that I purchased for myself right when I think I graduated college, or I think it was when I graduated college. But it's by an artist, Kinda Coletti, and she just does like some really fun paintings. And I love that. That's like, this is another like really special piece to me. And then my friend Brooklyn made this for my husband and I when we got married. It's just a collage of like little things that are personal to us and really special. Like I think I'm gonna copy her and do that as gifts for people because that's just so special. And then this is a portrait of Odette and Betty that I got for Christmas one year by her name is Leah Gorin. She did pet portraits. I like followed her on Instagram, and she did pet portraits around the holidays one year. So yeah, that was my Christmas present. It's Odette and Betty. They actually are not friends, but they look like they're friends in this photo, and that is why I love it so much. I think home is just where you feel good. Like I think you can have a home anywhere as long as you have people who you love around and you can kind of have a system or a community. I think that's what makes home. I think for me personally, like I think this house, we bought it as a house. We made it a home, obviously, but it's actually temporary. Like we are going to be like renovating a lot of this stuff, but the things that we kept in it and the way that we have it set up now feels like home. It is so important to me to feel good in my space, or else I will not be able to function as a human being. So I have to be surrounded by things that really inspire me and make me feel like I can get stuff done. Like if I'm just in a place that I don't feel comfortable in, I'm not a functioning human being, honestly. Okay, Homeworthy, thanks for stopping by my home in Nashville, Tennessee, but you have to go now. Bye.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Molly. Come on into my Washington, D.C. apartment.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hey, I'm Molly Costello. I'm an interior designer in Washington, D.C. Welcome to my home. So we have moved into this apartment about 3 years ago. I live here with my now husband. We moved in here before we got married, and it was our first space together. As we were trying to figure out where we wanted to live in Washington, D.C., he had some very strict parameters where he wanted, high ceilings and he wanted an industrial feel, and that was a challenge for me because that's really not where my design style lies. But we found this apartment. He's taller than I am. He loved the high ceilings. And so we said, you know what? I can make it work. We can make it work. We can bring in things that we've collected and curated throughout our many years, even before we got together, and we can make this place a home. And I'm really thrilled with how it all turned out. Welcome to my living room. So in this space, we really wanted to incorporate my favorite couch that I've ever gotten. It is this rolled arm love seat that is a Martha Stewart couch from way back in the day. But what makes it so awesome is that it came as a hot pink couch. I knew I didn't want to keep it hot pink, so we recovered it in a cotton duck fabric, which is pretty much just a really durable painter's cloth, and it's really held up the test of time. We OxiClean clean it a couple times a year, and it looks, I think, great, and it's super comfortable to sit in. So we knew this couch had to stay. With a living room, I really like having at least two other places for people to sit so we can have a conversation zone. And so we have these two mid-century chairs that are on either side of the couch. And there's a fun story with these two. So these chairs, again, sourced off of Facebook Marketplace, but they came from a convent on the Jersey Shore, and the convent was getting knocked down, and they had an obscene amount of chairs that I guess the nuns all used to sit in the sunroom. And so thankfully able to scoop up two, and previously the fabric was like this yellowy 70s color, which again makes sense with the age of the chair, but refinished it in this high performance navy blue. And it's really just held up and withstood all of the cocktail and happy hours we have in our home. And the chair is also really comfortable. I'll say, designing a living room, you gotta have comfortable furniture. If it's not comfortable, I just say don't even try it. And that's why I also love buying things in person. So whether that's going to a store, but really I love going and finding things secondhand, online, at an estate sale, and truly sitting in that furniture and seeing if it's comfortable. And if it's comfortable and has opportunity to become what I envision it being, it's something that I always bring home with me. There's a lot of browns in our home. I love dark brown furniture, but I think too much brown furniture can make the space feel too much like it's in a period home, or like we're in, an estate. And this is not an estate, this is a 700 square foot apartment. So the way that I broke up all of the dark wood was by adding in a painted coffee table. So this is another vintage coffee table. It originally was dark brown. It has bamboo accents, and it's cool, but I think it works even better now that it's blue. And as you can see, it also has wheels on the bottom, some casters. And that's another thing I think a lot about in this space. It's really easy to think, oh, I need a chair, I need a coffee table, I need side tables. Well, I would challenge you to say, hey, okay, the things that I'm bringing into my space, can they serve multi-purposes? And again, we're in a 700 square foot apartment, so we really need everything to have multi-use. So for this, we can roll it, we can move it around when we have guests over and we need to pull out the air mattress. It's easy to shift this living room so everything can fit. I also think it's important to have a lot of pillows around. You don't need an obscene amount of pillows, but I think pillows just invite you to sit down and get cozy. These pillows are linen-y material, and again, a lot of the elements in this space are super traditional. So I wanted to make sure that we brought in pillows both on our couch and on our side chairs that were a little bit more modern and had a playful fabric to them. So that helps break up the space as well. Then of course, I love good old John Darien. You'll see things of John Darien sprinkled throughout our home. But I just think he does such a good job with having natural elements all throughout his design. This is another item that I sourced actually out at Goodwill. I think this was maybe $5, but it's, real China, made in China pottery. And I just think it's beautiful, and it's something that you either will store, have flowers in the spring, or it also can hold pussy willows maybe in the beginning of the springtime, but it really adds this nice structure into our living room. And then it of course requires flowers to be purchased, which always makes the space feel super bright. I really love that there are two levels of this coffee table. Again, small space, trying to make it work with the square footage that we have. And I love that this lower level of this coffee table is where I can store my magazines. So I love interior design. I'm an interior designer in DC. And so I have all of my Architectural Digest magazines tucked on the bottom. And then this sweet little, I love this little box that I found. So this is a sweet little box, and the box itself I think might just be from Michael's, but what's inside of it I think is really cool. It's this little picture book of Paris, and my husband and I went to Paris right after we got engaged and had the best time. And so I just love this little book, how it just kind of is tucked away. It's for us, it's for our memories, and it just lives on top of magazines. So I always would recommend, whenever you are putting together items, just make sure that you of course grounding it when you can with a tray on a coffee table, or grounding it by putting something substantial on top of a stack of similar items. We have a tea cart that, again, you would think it's a tea cart, maybe not a side table, but we've since made it a side table. And you'll also notice that it has some sneaky storage, which is great to have sneaky storage in a small space to hold like your remotes or even your matches. That all goes in there. Some other things that I love in this area of our home. So these are really loud. I won't cling them for you, but they are metal coasters. And it's kind of this conversation starter for whenever people come in, because when you put a drink on this metal coaster, condensation occurs and the glass and the coaster gets stuck. And then you lift your glass up and the coaster drops and makes this loud crash. And so it's kind of like this funny thing where people think they broke something. But when I hear this clinging noise, I think of my grandmother, because she had these all over her home. And when we were little, it was like the one thing the baby or the toddler could play with in her home. So like when I hear these clings, it really just warms me from the inside to hear that. We have a stack of books, of course, and then if you kind of can see a little bit lower down, there's this big piece of glass that is off to the side and it's blue. And what I love about it is this piece of glass constantly is moving around our apartment, and sometimes it lives also on the coffee table with this pretty vase, or it's just on its own. And as the sun shines in, I love how it makes the space really sparkle. This piece of glass was a Facebook Marketplace item. Someone had like huge chunks of random glass in their backyard, and so went and picked it up, and now it's something that is just like a different texture that we're able to bring into our home. I love bringing in brass all throughout our space. This used to, I think, be like a spittoon. I use this as a planter, and I love how it breaks up the terracotta that you typically would see, but it has green and brass, and then that kind of brings this over to this deep shelf. I love shelves, or love deep windowsills, because then you can put your collections on them. As I go and travel, I always love to find things that speak to me, and I think it's important to not just bring them into your home and have them be kind of like everywhere. I'd really love corralling my collections, and you'll see some of my husband's collections as well. I think that's the key, is like corralling. So anyway, so more brass. I just think brass and natural items together are so cool. So here's some of the pieces that we have: a frog, a leaf, dragonfly, a seashell. I love a seashell. We got married at the beach, and this was like our logo for our wedding. So a friend found this for me, and it's just really special that it's always going to be here with us. We have a Sue Shookley print in the back. So this is an artist that is from the Lancaster County area, and she did a lot of natural pieces of art and paintings, and so we love that here. The other thing that I think does a nice job of connecting our space are the colors. So you can see that we have a lot of navies, we have a lot of greens, we have a lot of reds, and that means whenever I'm pulling in different elements, I want it to have at least one, if not two, of those colors in every piece that we're bringing into our living room. So another element that we have in our living room that really represents my husband is this American flag. And so this American flag was something that he found in his grandparents' items, and it turns out that it was a flag that used to be, we think, in his grandfather's tool shed. So once he was able to get that, we worked, and I was really like, man, this would be so cool framed. So we found this frame. Actually, this frame is just like from Goodwill. Same with the glass. I took the frame to Michael's, and I was trying to find a piece of poster board that would fit, and we actually had to get it custom cut. But all said, I mean, this was, I think, a pretty impactful piece on this wall, but a relatively easy DIY for us to create. And now every time we look at it, we know the history behind it and all the memories. And it was one of the first gifts I gave Josh when we started dating. So it's really fun that we have that together. So then moving over a little farther are these antlers. So we have a pair of them. They're antique, found them at Finial and Fern. It's an awesome antique shop outside of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and they sell awesome things. But these were for sale there, and I was like, they would look so cool on either side of this American flag that we created. One day I'd love to get the little crests repainted to be my last name and my husband's last name. I think that would look really sweet on this wall, but I haven't yet found a painter to do that. So eventually that will be a thing that we do together. I really wanted to make sure that since we are in an industrial space, that we also had elements in our home, and you'll see it in the kitchen, of more of the metal hard elements, so everything is connected. This little side lamp is a antique lamp, and it's handmade, and I won't do it because it'll make a squeaking noise, but it actually can move up and down. It's all based on this piece of metal that turns into this long rod, and you can move it up and down, which I just love. Again, small spaces, having pieces that you can shift around and move. And so love this black. Think of the black when we go into the bedroom, because you'll see how there's a connection there as well. Then next to this chair is a chest. And you might think this, oh, is just a chest. No, no, no. This is where we store all of our games for game nights. And it again has another little sneaky drawer. I love a drawer. And that's where we have our playing cards. But this is a great piece of furniture and something that, again, multi-use, small space, everything needs to work in different ways. I do think that every surface should have a light on them, whether it's a candle or a lamp. And I think that this little touch lamp is just so sweet. When you are out at antique and vintage or estate sales, always look for crystal. This is a beautiful crystal vase, and I love the shape of it, the way the light shines through, and it's just super substantial. So I know that when I put, flowers in it, it's not gonna tip over. So love a crystal vase. And then we also have these Versailles coasters. Again, we found them actually in DC. And the reason we picked them up is because we went to Paris and we went to the Versailles, and actually my husband found these. And I'm grateful that he loves to go to antique and vintage shops with me. He usually is like beelines for the sports, which will make sense as we look at other places in our apartment. But it was so sweet when he saw these and he's like, oh yeah, these are, we went here. And I just love bringing things into our home, again, that represent us. My whole ethos is surround yourself with what you believe in. So I said, for $5, we can surround ourselves with these cute coasters. And I cannot leave this living room without talking about the rug. I have a love affair. It's probably like an understatement of how I'm explaining this, but I love a hand-woven wool rug with pattern. I just think it makes a space, again, this gray box that we live in, which is what most apartments are like in DC or really all over. They're just these empty rooms with gray flooring and white walls. But I think when you smack it with a rug, it just adds this depth and this warmth. And again, it can act as the base for your color palette for how you're gonna decorate your home, like navy, red, green, a little bit of cream. That is what is in this rug. That is what we've infused into this living room. And one other thing that I didn't get a chance to talk yet about is this side table. So we'll talk about this a little bit more as we go into different spaces, but as much as you being the person designing your space can bring elements into your home that have had a history with your family, I would do it. It means so much. When I look at this table, I know that this table, along with those metal coasters, were my Nana's. And again, it's a nesting table. So when we have company over and let's say, our drop leaf table that we have runs out of room, we want people to be able to sit, enjoy, and eat. So we'll just pull out some of these nesting tables and use them as little eating areas for folks to eat off of. And it's just really cozy. More brass. Love, love, love a brass lamp. I love the way the light bounces off of it and makes it really warm. Again, we have really white walls. And so the more warmth we can bring in with those brass elements, I think makes the space just make you feel really cozy. So we are big backgammon people here. We love having our backgammon board out. Sometimes we are, lifting up the tray from the coffee table and playing on that coffee table, or we're playing on our kitchen island. But having a backgammon board, I think, is a necessity in any home. And it's something you can play, just as two, or it can become a fun competition when you're having, that little cocktail hour at your house and you're having friends over and people get really into backgammon. It's a really fun game to have. So we have the leather element that we connected to our backgammon board, and then the other leather element that we have is this ottoman that is from Ballard Design, and I absolutely love it because of the shape, the octagon, and then also that it's this dark wood or dark brown color that connects to the dark brown furniture. And again, I really want our space to feel warm and cozy, so we love people putting their feet up and relaxing, and this I think footstool does a good job of getting people to feel like they should be relaxing in our living room. We also have this sweet little side table, and again, with my theme of brass and natural elements, I love that this table looks like a twig, and I think it really was from an anthropology table, and found it on Facebook Marketplace for, I don't know, maybe 25 bucks, and it's been something that I've had for quite some time. And it, again, we have brass sprinkled throughout the living room, and I think it does a nice job pulling us across the space, and it's a warm color. So yeah, that's our living room. So I would describe my sense of style as really curated, cozy, warm. I want people to be able to come into our home and just feel like they either could or couldn't take off their shoes and just if anything, jump on a cozy piece of furniture, grab a blanket and relax. A lot of the elements that we have are vintage and antique. And so I think sometimes people look at that and they're like, oh crap, is that gonna be durable? But I think the way that we have recovered furniture and just have really fun pillows makes you feel like you can just plop down and enjoy your time. So as we were designing this space, it was really important that we didn't just pick one style. And it's also important to say that, as we are decorating our home, we don't want to just buy everything brand new. It wasn't really in the budget. So instead, we continue to collect and bring things in that we've, sourced for other spaces. And so that translated into a home that has antique and vintage items, and the furniture itself is also kind of used in unexpected ways, which we'll see a little bit later. But that collection really is telling the story of who lives here and how we really just want people to feel comfortable and welcomed when they come in. And a lot of the pieces that we have a long story to them that, again, remind us of our travels and our experiences. And we're just so happy with how it all came together. Let's come on over to our party zone. So this is where we have our bar cart and our cocktails for hosting. I really like using furniture in unexpected ways in our home. This dry sink really was and is an antique, late 1800s, early 1900s piece. And it literally was a dry sink where people would wash their hands, use a pitcher, and use this as a dry sink. Now we use it as a bar cart. Got this off Facebook Marketplace from a woman who was previously using it as a baby changing table. And I just think that's so sweet. I mean, this piece of furniture can have so many different meanings depending on where it is in your home. And for us, in our stage of life, it's a bar cart. And maybe one day it'll become a baby changing table. I think a bar cart, of course, needs a whole bunch of different cocktails and liquids to make a delicious drink. I love sourcing vintage decanters and having them in different shapes, unexpected shapes. I think that really adds a lot to a bar cart. We have some really substantial crystal tumblers that I got at an estate sale, and they feel really good in the hand and they look really nice. But we also had to make sure that my husband, of course, was incorporated into this because he loves anything whiskey related. And so we have his University of South Dakota, his tumblers also on our bar cart. And another little funny family memory that we have is we have this, I come from a very outspoken home, and at times the dinner table can become a little heated. And so my mom found a game many years ago called the Know-It-All game. So my family couldn't just leave it as a game. We now all have a bell that we have in our living room or like by our dining table. And anytime we're having a dinner party and someone's just like going on a little too long, which typically it's me, you get dinged. So that means I get dinged a lot at dinners, but it's fun. And it really like lightens up the mood, and it's a nice way to transition the conversation without making somebody feel bad. Again, typically I'm the one that has to feel bad. Other things that we always try to have on our bar cart are some piece of life. Since the ceilings are so tall, I really like bringing the eye up with a tall plant or something alive in this area. I think every bar cart needs some cocktail napkins, so I change these out seasonally. And then a little bit farther over to the corner of the bar cart, my husband and I got married recently, and so I've just been really happy and obsessed with all of our wedding photos. So it's fun to pull them out and kind of place them in our home and make little vignettes. We also, of course, you gotta have your matchbooks. And I think what's been sweet is before I moved in with Josh, I've always kind of been like growing this collection, but now that Josh and I, my husband and I are like, lived together for the last couple years, he now is the one that's always looking for matchbooks. So I just love that we have that little thing that we do together, whether we're out at a restaurant together or out by ourselves with different people. It's always fun to bring those things together. And I will show you, as I kind of mentioned in the living room, everything needs to be multi-use. So we had to have a drawer. This is where I've jam-packed all of our candlesticks are in there. And then I did think that there was a lot of wood going on with this bar cart and a lot of wood in our living room, and eventually I'll show you into our dining room. But I think a little tassel is really a fun way to break it up and add some playfulness. This was just a tassel I got off of Etsy, and I love the green. Again, usually there's a piece of green, there's a green element on the bar cart, and the tassel green ties together really nicely. And our main colors are that navy, green, and red. So wanted to make sure that was all pulled into the space. And absolutely love this piece of furniture, and it really grounds this space, and I think it really just is cool. It's super unexpected, and people are like, I had never thought of using a dry sink as a bar, but I think it works really, really well. And then kind of pulling your eye up a little bit more, another one of my tricks that I love to do is corralling like art. These pieces are things that I've, just collected as I've been at antique sales or vintage stores. And what works really well is when you hang art and you find a line, a through line. In our whole apartment, or at least we try to have the base of all of our pieces of art to be on that same through line. This one of the pieces in the living room is a little bit different since it's connected to the light, which gives it a base. But we try to have all of our art on the same line, and that is what helps your eye kind of flow through the space without things getting too broken up. And then I would also say I love how these pieces, they're all landscapes, and putting them together, of course, makes a really big impact on our wall. But I also love landscapes because they can almost act as a window into another place where you would like to be. Like, we live in a very industrial concrete building in a very concrete city. And so adding in these landscapes allow us, to pretend like we are, in somewhere a little bit more tranquil. So I love that. And we also have to point to the dogs that we have on our wall. My husband names them crazy names, and we are huge dog people, and so we have dogs sprinkled throughout our home, and it just makes for really happy memories. And sometimes we pretend like the dogs are talking to us and they have the full character, and we don't need to go down that because I think it's too embarrassing to tell you the names and the stories we have for these dogs. But I think, again, as you're creating your home, it's so important to bring things in that speak to you. And then as you're living in this space, the things that maybe, you found at an estate sale kind of take on a whole new life and meaning. So that's our party zone is over here. So I think it's time for us to transition into our dining room. I am an interior designer in Washington, D.C. I started this journey many moons ago. I think my mom and my grandmother would take credit that they really started it when they would take my sister and me to antique shops, and they would teach us the difference between crystal and glass, which I don't know why a 10-year-old needs to know that, but thankfully I know it now. And fast forward to being in college, all the moves, being in DC for nearly 10 years, there have been a lot of moves that have occurred in that time frame. And with each move, it's given me the opportunity to really rethink and recreate our space. Again, I'm still using a lot of the same pieces of furniture, still using a lot of the same art and accessories, but getting me to really think creatively about how we can best use the space and get the most square footage out of it. So I think that really started it. And as I started to, really fall in love with this interior design process, people would come into our home and, would say, hey, Molly, this is cool. Could you help me? And it just became hey, Molly is going to be the one that can come over and help you hang art, or Molly can help you figure out how to source things off Facebook Marketplace. And it's just really snowballed. I now have this business that's focused on reusing, repurposing, recycling furniture. All right, let's come on over to our large, not really, our little dining area that we have. So this is a drop leaf table. This is where my husband and I love to eat, and also where we host dinners. So if you're not familiar, drop leaf table is something I cannot stress enough that people with small spaces, really anybody, can benefit from. This table is 3 sides, an 18th century antique, and it actually has a little secret door. But what's so great about this piece is that when you pull it off the wall, it can then seat 6 people if you're feeling really cozy. We have a bench in our bedroom that we pull out. We have some other chairs that we have tucked in our closet, and we're able to have a space for folks to dine and have a delicious meal together. I also am obsessed with all things brass, so I had to have, I keep a collection of brass candlesticks out, and I just love when candles get droopy, and it just shows that you're having a really nice time and people are enjoying their evening. So always have candlesticks out. These pretty onion candlesticks are also really cool. I did not find them together when I was out on my vintage, estate sales. I found them separately, but if you look for them, they're pretty popular, and I just think that they have such a cool shape, and especially in the springtime, they really break up the candlestick collection that I have. These are sweet little Hitchcock chairs, and what I love about them is the way that they're painted, and they really make me think of my parents, and these are, my parents have very similar chairs around their dining table at their house, and I just love the connection to it. And again, they're substantial, even though they're a small profile. So my husband, who's a tall man, can comfortably sit in these chairs. Maybe comfortable is a stretch, but at least a place where he can have dinner, and then we can move back over to living room for a soft surface. But I just think they're so cool. You'll see we have the eagle repeated quite a few times in our space. Again, we're in Washington, D.C., so it just feels really appropriate to have the eagle. I mean, why not lean into it? So love, love, love these chairs. And 2 on either side of the table, I think really does a nice job of creating a zone, because we can't always live with the table out and fully set, or we just would have no movement in our space. But these 2 chairs are great, and then you can have a his and her spot to put your work bag when you come home in the evening. And then again, kind of connected to our party zone, our bar cart area, I love a landscape. And so since this wall is so far from the windows, I really wanted this wall to have an opportunity to feel like it was a window, or a scene to look out and to admire. And so it has water and rocks, and I just think it's super calming. Again, Facebook Marketplace is where this art was sourced, and I just absolutely love it. A little bit farther over is a beautiful sconce that is of iron, and what I love about this sconce is that it adds, of course, light into a corner that's very dark. We don't have any overhead ceiling or overhead lighting in this area of our apartment, so this fixture helps to brighten up this corner. I will also say one of my other little tips, and I learned this one from my mother. I learned all of this, I should say, from my mother and my grandmother, but I cannot stress enough the importance of having mood lighting in your home. I have little battery candles sprinkled throughout our home, in our bookshelves, in all the other corners, and they're all set to go on around like 6 o'clock. So it's this really wonderful thing when you're either home on the weekends or like coming home from work, coming back from a design project. I always know that at 6 o'clock, it's kind of the time to like wind down, start making dinner, having, my husband come home and just having together time. So I love that. I would say the way to hone in on your style is by like taking a look at like how you like to dress. For me, that means I love, incorporating vintage and antique items into my jewelry. I also really love navies and blues and greens, so pulling that into my style. I would also say picking either a piece of art that you love, or for me, I love rugs, letting something ground your space. And again, things can evolve, but finding something that really speaks to you and let that be your foundation. Now we will enter into our entryway, which again, probably sounds silly to say it since it's literally a bookshelf that we have transformed into our entryway. This is where we keep our books. It's also where we drop our keys and just our mail. So we'll throw our mail in a vintage planter, which is what we have here. And then I love it because it has these sweet little handly knobs on the edge. But we'll put our mail here, and then we'll hang our keys on our dog butts. Again, we love dogs. So we use this area really hard. So it was important that we had places that made sense for us to drop what we need to drop when we walk in our home or when we leave our home, but also things that we can kind of like hide away. So when you're thinking of how to create an entryway for yourself or for your home, always have things that kind of like can be sunk, like things can sink into. So it's not such an eyesore. I do love, this is a photo I have of my parents that I snagged from their house a little while ago, and I just love having it here because it's just another fun memory that we have. But then what we also have on our bookshelf / entryway table is another light. So this was also from my grandmother, and it's just makes me so happy to see it. An old, like a ginger-esque jar that has been transformed into a light, and I just think it's beautiful. And I think it works really well over here because it has a lot of color that's not necessarily brought into the rest of the space with pinks and yellows, pinks and oranges. But since it's on top of this bookshelf that we since painted navy, or like a deep blacky gray navy color, I think it does a really nice job highlighting the lamp without it feeling like it's so disconnected from the rest of the space. The reason that this bookshelf is painted is we can't just have everything be brown furniture, even though I do love it. I think that this painted piece of furniture, along with our painted coffee table, really breaks up the space and makes it feel just a little bit more modern and a little bit more playful, and not like, again, we are in a museum. And if you don't have a portable backgammon board, I don't know what you're doing, but we have our little portable backgammon right here on our entryway because it's great to take when you're going on, a flight or vacation, or just like up to the roof and you're wanting to get away from, screens. We always grab our little backgammon board. Keeping on the theme of creating a home and creating soul in your space, I absolutely love having this wall of like me and Josh are, our life together. We got married at the beach, so have a little sand dollar at the top. Every home needs a 4-leaf clover for luck by the front door. We are lovebirds, so we have brass lovebirds here on the wall. We are manifesting a little dog, so we have this little piece here. We have a cross that we got to remember our time of getting married in Mexico, and just really a sweet little touch that my mom found. And my mom has one, my sister has one, and my in-laws also have one at their house. So it's just happy thoughts. So it was really important that I figured out a way to hide our circuit breaker. So after many different ideas, the one that I stuck with was finding a printing tray. and filling it with seashells. So that's what we have here, and then behind it is our circuit breaker. Again, we got married in Mexico. We love the beach. We love seashells. So a lot of these are the seashells that we have collected as we have been on our travels. And then I wanted to flank it with a piece of art above the seashells, just so again your eye goes up since the ceilings are so high. And I love this because you can see this either as somebody or two people kayaking on the river, or just, you know, again, a natural scene that connects the seashells and your eye to go up. So sometimes people say, hey, where's Josh fit into this apartment, my husband? And I'm like, right here. So this is his all things sports section, all of his bobbleheads. We live in DC. He's a huge fan of the Nats, and whenever there's a bobblehead available at the Nats Stadium, he is the first in line. So we have to have those full on display, and I think it's a really fun way to, again, corral a collection of bobbleheads. I don't think it would be nearly as impactful if we had bobbleheads all over the apartment, but since they are together along with some of his books, it just looks fun, and again adds personality to a space that we don't want it to feel like a museum. So the best thing about our home is that it's the first place my husband and I have lived together, and it's a really special place that we always will have as our first. But looking around and thinking about what really is like my favorite element of this apartment, I would say that there is a barricade, or at least like a wall, between the kitchen and the living room. And I love it because it's so great that while we are able to cook and be together in the same space, I don't have to see all the dirty dishes, which I think is so important when you're in a small space. I feel like it's this kind of like little treasure when people come into our apartment, that they don't realize that there is this divide. I'd also say this high ceilings and then the exposed concrete really made it kind of a big challenge for me as we were designing this, because again, I would never really choose to have exposed concrete with, you know, contractor writing on it, or even exposed AC, units. But I think it's this really cool play between things that are like supposed to be in a Williamsburg, classic traditional American home, and then we've brought it into this at one point gray box, and we've really made it warm and inviting. And my favorite thing is also when people come in and we're hosting a dinner party or just having a girls' night or friends over for pizza, people just walk in and they're like, wow, like I never even thought that this could be a design or work. And so I love seeing that light bulb moment for other people, and then like people just like plop on the couch and just have a great evening. And that's like the best part, when you work really hard and you get to enjoy it together. All right, come on into the kitchen. So this is a really hard use zone in our home. We love to cook, we love to host, and so the space gets a lot of use. Something that I always get comments about is, I cannot believe you have a vintage rug as your kitchen rug in your kitchen. And to that I always say, well, why not? These rugs are meant to be used, they're meant to be enjoyed. And this rug I've had for a couple of years, and previously it was in a hallway in another apartment that I had, and now it's in our kitchen, and I absolutely love it. I think it adds a whole bunch of character and depth to this kitchen. It's a pretty basic kitchen. It has all the things that we need, but there's not a huge amount of character, and I think that this rug adds to it. We also have in our kitchen tried really hard to take out the things that make it feel like a kitchen. So what I mean by that is we have our fruit in a crystal vase, or crystal bowl, which again, some people might think it's crazy. I think it's really fun. So our fruit's in a crystal bowl, and then like many other people who love to hide plugs, we just put some cutting boards up, and I think that does a nice job of disguising, some things that are feeling a little too kitcheny. And then, these are great to use when we're hosting, to do a quick little, charcuterie board, or even just, again, cut up your lemon in the morning for your lemon water. Another theme of John Darien, we have a John Darien book on our coffee table. I love John Darien and how he takes these natural elements and creates beautiful art from it. So another tray, sometimes this tray sits on our coffee table and the coffee table tray sits above our stove. Again, we're just always moving things around, because in a small space, things can feel like they get kind of stuck. But this is a great tray that we're able to take off the wall and then, use as we're going up to the grill. And then again, again, it has the colors that I love and that we've incorporated into our home with those reds, greens, and blues. And this is a fun metal basket that's brass metal or brass woven basket that we use as a fruit basket. And what I love is that it, again, brings your eye up. It has an interesting element to the top. It kind of disguises from this huge stretch of tile. And then this basket underneath is where we keep our onions. So, you know, you could use something expected, but why not put it in a basket? And our onions are very happy in there. And then of course, cannot have a kitchen, a working kitchen, if you don't have your Joy of Cooking book out, and if you don't have something from Miss Ina Gardens. That's our kitchen accessories. We also love these solid brass Greek pepper and salt grinds. Again, they are interesting in a space that feels like it could just be very utilitarian, but I think elevating it with a couple items like the ones I pointed out just make it feel special. So our beehive, eventually when we get a dog, this is where our dog treats will be stored. The dog is coming eventually, and I told you we love animals and we love dogs in this home, so eventually this will be where we keep our dog treats. Of course, you have your coffee maker. It's nothing all that special, but it works for us every day and it has a timer. So you wake up and coffee is made. And then a little blue and white sugar jar, which is again where we keep our sugar, and it just makes it feel really just elevated and pretty. Going to the sink, I know we don't need to spend a huge amount of time here, but I think it's important that when you have your hand soap and your dish soap, you just figure out a way to display it so it's not so obvious. Dish soap and hand soap. I love when things have feet. A lot of our furniture in our home have feet, so I wanted to make sure that those feet kind of got brought into the kitchen, which again, small detail, not many would kind of connect that dot here, but that's why this is something that you can see under, see through, and it helps you you know, your eye keep going into the kitchen. We love, you know, fun little tea towels, and these are some that I got from my mother-in-law, from a woman who she sewed these, you know, on a sewing machine, but I just think they're so fun. One other thing I want to point out are these maps. My husband was really adamant that when we moved in together that we both would get maps of the states where we lived, and just a sweet little thing. So love having that in the kitchen. We spend a lot of the time here, so always look at Pennsylvania and where he's from, South Dakota. I do want to point out some other art. This was done by my Uncle Greg many years ago. He made it for my dad, I think, when they were in their early 20s. And as life goes and things shift in a home, I was like, oh my gosh, can I please bring and take these and enjoy them? And I just thought they looked really cool on this tall wall. So the colors that I'm really drawn to are really rich colors. I do love a white wall. It makes me think that we're living in a gallery and we can cover the walls in art. But I grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia. My parents are from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and so really was shaped by kind of like this Amish, early American, primitive furniture. And then we also lived in Louisiana when I was little, and I think that also kind of geared me into like this art of hosting. So then that translates into our home, where we have mixed elements of antique pieces that are from, you know, the early 1900s to even coming a little bit, you know, closer to present day with mid-century pieces. We love reds and greens. It makes sense we're in Washington, D.C., so we kind of play into the red, white, and blue without it probably being so obvious. My husband really loves the Ralph Lauren style, so it helped us kind of like figure out what we wanted to do when he was able to kind of like point to things that he liked. And I think that it translated really well into the space. And there's elements that are probably very obviously, you know, Americana, but we're in Washington, D.C., like we should be leaning into where we are. And it ties into my design style, which is, you know, very focused on surrounding yourself with what you believe in. So like bring things that represent you into your home and bring things in that you can take with you, because, you know, you might be moving a lot or things are never permanent, but I think it's so important that when you're sourcing things for your space, it's not just about the space, it's about the people living in the home and making sure that the furniture can come along with you. So. This is our bathroom, and as you can see, it's not the biggest, but we tried to make it work with what we had. So that meant, of course, adding down another handmade rug as our rug in our bathroom, and then adding in a piece of art that helped to connect the elements that I personally wouldn't necessarily choose, of this gray vanity and kind of creamy motif on the doors, but it's what we have. And I think that this piece of art, again, sourced off Facebook Marketplace, maybe 25 bucks. It's an original, signatures kind of covered in the frame. It's not the best piece of art, but it connects the story color into the bathroom. I always like to bring in a substantial shower curtain. This one works really well in the space because it has this navy blue stripe around the perimeter, and it just makes you feel like you are in a hotel when you are using it. It's from the company store. They have really great shower curtains. Very much love the weight of it. And then some more landscape art. Love this. They're two pieces from my husband's grandmother when she went to Greece, and a seashell. Again, we have shells all over our apartment, and I just love the connection that has to our personal life of getting married at the beach. So that's our bathroom. Welcome to our primary bedroom. Just want to first stop and say this is our closet. In this area, there were, when we first got in this apartment, 5 doors in less than like 8 feet. So we were lucky enough to have management take the door off of the closet, and then we put up these sweet toile curtains that are really long, again, highlighting the high ceilings that we have in our apartment. And this does a nice job breaking up all of the white with this big curtain, which I love, and it's really practical. Coming into the hall, we also have a bench. This is a multi-purpose use bench. It's something that we pull out and put underneath or across from our couch in our living room, and use it as another place for people to sit and enjoy when we're hosting. Let's see the rest of the bedroom. So we are immediately greeted by another hand-knotted vintage rug that, again, has the colors that are in our living room and in our kitchen, and we have brought that into our bedroom. We also have another wall of art that we've pulled together. It has another, image of something with water and boats. My husband and I went to Maine a couple years ago, and so we saw this art and it really spoke to us, and it's something that we wanted to bring into our space. Our bedroom, we don't necessarily have enough room for us both to have bedside tables and dressers, so as we were figuring out kind of like practicality, we figured we cannot have all this extra furniture. So we were lucky enough to have pieces of furniture already, and we just had to rethink of how they were going to be used. So my husband's bedside table is his dresser and bedside table, and that actually used to be our TV stand in a previous apartment that I had, and so now it's his bedside table, which it took him a little while, I think, to realize that you don't need a bedside table, you can just use a dresser, but now he absolutely loves it, and we've pulled in some cool elements on his side. When you're out at antique shops, it's really great to find little boxes. I sometimes struggle, what always to get my husband for different anniversaries or holidays, so I usually always have a collection of little boxes stored in my little secret gift zone, and that's where I will put in a tie or a watch or something else that he was looking for, and I just put it inside of an antique box, and I think it just adds a nice element. Then he can reuse it on his bedside table, and this, again, since this is his dresser, it's important that he also has a place for him to put like his bedside items, so those boxes act as a really good spot for that. And yeah, this is another random light that he had before we moved in together, but it works in this space. We have the 2 sconces above the bed to add that symmetry. And then again, more blue and white with this quilt that we have on our bed. We're in Washington, DC, kind of is fun to play into the red, white, and blue. And so I think this bedroom continues to do that. We have 2 huge pillow shams on our bed. This, I think, acts as another way to disguise from the fact that we do not have a headboard. So 2 pillows do a nice job of that. And then we have 2 red pillows also on our bed to connect into the rug to the bed and tell us a consistent color story that way. Now, I do have to point out, this is one of my prized possessions. It is a secretary's desk that I first learned of and fell in love with at Winterthur in Delaware. It is a estate home now that you can go and visit, this massive, gorgeous home and with beautiful walking paths outside. But I walked into one of their rooms and I saw a piece of furniture that was very similar to this, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. And I was like, man, one day if I could have little timbered doors and a little, writing area, I would absolutely love that. And the cool thing about this piece of furniture is, of course, it has, 2 drawers and has some secret drawers inside of these doors, but it also is the secretary's desk. So it folds out to be a desk, which is really great when, again, you have not many spaces to work. This can become a work zone. And then we have a little chair to my left that used to be my grandmother's chair that she had at her desk when she was alive, and now I get to have that chair and use it as my writing desk, which just, again, it fills me with happy memories and really feels like this home has a deep soul to it. So this is another little art collection that we have in our home. This really is a lot of the items that I've collected and have had in my childhood home and now have in our bedroom. But this is a birth certificate that is written in Proctor. Again, I grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, so like this Dutch German is very part of a lot of the things that we had in our childhood home, and I just love this. My mom, my sister, and my dad all have a birth certificate written this way, and I look forward to keeping that tradition going eventually with, getting one for my husband and then our children. I think that they're just really beautiful. I love layering plants or like a live element with a still element. So that would be a plant and a piece of art layered together. I think that makes a really good story. So yeah, that's our bedroom. So I think what creates soul in a home is really making your home personal. So that can mean like bringing in art that it was, something that you inherited, or, sourcing things on your travels. Really bringing things in that represent you. My whole interior design ethos is surround yourself with what you believe in. So the word home means like more of a feeling to me. I feel physically want to get myself wrapped up in a blanket and get cozy. It's a place where you can escape and find just a true peace as you are, navigating a busy life and work, especially being in, this concrete city that we're living in. I really want our home to be a place where we can breathe and come together.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.